Hello, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever it is you're listening to this. I'm recording this mid-morning, so we're going to have a little coffee chat, battling some allergies over here. So if I sound a little, I've been here in Wisconsin, spring hit, and just allergies like annihilated me. So if you have great allergy recommendations, please send me a message. I have been doing all the things for the allergies. And also my son is in lots of sporting events right now, so we're outside a lot. Like I love the warm weather. I love to see all of the things blooming. And at the same time, when I go out to my black car and it's covered in this yellow pollen, I'm like, all right, that is what's getting me right now. So we're working through that. But I want to have a little chat, and I might be a little feisty today. So if you like feisty, here we go. And really, this is coming from a lot of conversations I've been having. And I've been feeling this for a long time. It's one of the reasons that I started my leadership development, and speaking company. And, we're in this really interesting space. So what we're going to be talking about today is really around, as organizations, as leaders, we owe our people better. Our people deserve more. I mean, I have so much conviction around this. So we're going to be talking about whether you are somebody who owns your own business, like how you can continue to support people through whatever your products or services are. If you have team members, what that looks like. And especially for those of you who are working in organizations as well, you might be like, yes, I feel this, but how can I change it? And so as somebody who has worked within companies and now works with outside, as a consultant, works with companies but still has obviously all of, the clients that I work with are within companies. If we're doing coaching for leaders, or I have a lot of friends and people in my network that still work for organizations. And one of my biggest drivers is like, how can we help to make workplaces better? How can we help to improve the cultures of where people work, where you spend so much of your time? And obviously we see this, the state of the world and businesses changing and technology changing. And there's so many economic things that are outside of our control and companies doing massive layoffs. And of course, there's some that do it quote unquote right. Like it's always going to be hard. And then there's some that are just sending out mass emails without any human touch. And I always say, like, how can we humanize leadership? And we have, especially in this age of technology and AI, we are losing touch more and more of the human experience. And I'm going to, like, as I start talking, you're going to hear me get more and more fired up around this topic. Because again, I've been doing, a lot of coaching for leaders within organizations. And again, talking to people and the experiences that people have. And you're listening, you might be experiencing this as well. I hope not, but the statistics show probably, because more people are disengaged in their work than ever before. I mean, we've been sharing that on our forums, on our executive forums. More people are disengaged in their work, and it keeps trending higher than ever before. And so our workplaces, where people spend the majority of their time and their life and their energy, are toxic, are burning people out, at the end of the day, like as a business owner, it is about business. Absolutely. You have the bottom line, and some of you have stakeholders and you have board of directors, and from an organizational standpoint, yes. And also at the same time, the people that you employ are the ones getting the stuff done. And so when I have conversations with people in my network, or when I have conversations with leaders within organizations, and I hear some of the stuff that is happening, I see it. Of course, some of the people within the company might not see the direct connection, but I see, how do we expect people to want to show up and work hard for you and bring in money and build connections and do all of these things if we are treating them like garbage? We have so many leaders and so many people leading teams and projects that are they're placed from a place of ego. They're not leading from, humility, from empathy, from relationship building. There's a lot of this ego. There's a lot of what's in it for me. There's a lot of tunnel vision. And it is creating more and more people leaving the organizations. And yet, we don't want to invest in the people or their leadership. Again, this is one of those things, like if I could just shake people and realize, like, you want to cut budgets for leadership development, or you don't want to invest in people, get them coaches, get them training, and yet you have people leaving the workforce or trying to switch jobs or trying to go out and start their own businesses because they don't want to work in those types of environments. They're not tolerating this anymore. And so ultimately, it's like this revolving door of frustration because it's like, well, we don't have the budget for that, or we don't want to put money into that because we need to put money into AI and we need to put money into, yeah, I get that. And at the same time, who do you think is going to be there to implement those things? And so this is again coming off of some recent conversations where it's just this reality of, this is not a nice to have. This is a necessity. Your people are the ones that are going to drive your business. You can't do it on your own. And so I've just been thinking of this more and more. And again, I always talk about, like, what's within your circle of control and what's outside of your circle of control. So if you're somebody who's listening, you're like, okay, Julie, yeah, I'm in an organization where I'm feeling that, but I don't have control over that. What do you have control over? Right. And so if you're feeling that, it's what conversations might you need to have with your manager or your team members, or maybe even going up the line around if you can see this or what you're experiencing, or if you are somebody who is within a position or within a position of power to be solving some of those things. I challenge you to really think about, how is it by us not supporting our people, by not we have so many managers that are and leaders who are getting put in leadership positions because they're good at their job and they have no training on how to be a manager, on how to have tough conversations, on how to navigate difficult situations, on how to develop people. There's no support for them. And then we have disengagement, we have retention issues. And so I challenge you to really think about, how is by us actually focusing on us and actually supporting our people going to help? And one of the things that especially when I am talking to my clients or we're talking to prospects about how do you get buy-in within your organization for this type of support, it needs to be tied to strategic initiatives of the organization. It needs to be tied to metrics because, again, we can't, everyone comes at things from a different perspective. If you're talking to the CFO of a company, or if you're talking to operations or things like that, they're coming at it from their lens and you're coming at it from your own lens. And so you're all looking at the same problem, but from totally different perspectives. And so there has to be this give and take. And so I always say, to build your best business case, if you're seeing this, it's how can you tie this to strategic initiatives within your organization or within your business, whatever it is how can you tie those things together? How is by us developing our people? How is by us getting coaching for these people or getting them training or having manager or leadership support? How is that going to help our department goals? And how is that going to help our company goals? And if you can tie metrics to it, that's definitely something, in kind of building your business case. And I always say too, having a seat at the table, untying the people side of things to the business goals is definitely something, because when you can speak to the numbers, that is definitely really important. That's something that we really focus on within Savvy, is when we're coming in and supporting organizations with leadership, is how can we tie this to metrics and be able to provide those metrics of like, hey, we were able to see a % increase here or reduction here, so that you have that use case. But if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, I don't work within an organization, but I have my own company, or I want to have my own company. Again, this still applies to you, because the people, the relationships part of life is really what makes or breaks things, right? And so if we don't treat people, and it's a big and small world, like there are so many people that are connected, right? And so it's like there's that reputation that you have. And so I always say, like, part of my conviction around why I do what I do is twofold. Like, one, I want to help I want to help you. I want to help organizations. I want to help people to have more fulfillment in the work that they do to create cultures and organizations where people actually like what they do. Of course, it's work. We're not always going to love every part of work, but we also shouldn't hate it. We shouldn't be burned out, disengaged. I mean, the stories that I hear of the things that people have to tolerate from their managers, from their workplaces, just the disrespect, the lack of empathy. Like, life isn't that serious. Life isn't that long. And I feel like we are asking people to learn all these systems and all this change, and yet we aren't supporting them through it. And so I have this conviction where it's like, how can we help people to enjoy more of the work that they do? Because when they do that, they are going to show up for you. If they are bought into the why, if they are bought into the mission, and if they can understand the changes, they are going to show up for you. And so I was like, how can we create more workplaces where we have people and leaders thriving? And then the other conviction that I have around this is I have this desire to grow my business to a place that I can provide more opportunities, more employment for people, to create a culture where they feel valued, to create a culture where they feel that they can be authentic, where they've got autonomy on their schedule. Like, that's just kind of like another one of those convictions, because I see how many people, I coach people every single day on how they can show up as a leader. And oftentimes it's not because of their own lack of trying. They are trying. They are, trying to see different perspectives. They're trying different approaches. They're having tough conversations with their boss about how they're feeling. But if that person at that next level isn't also trying to help, isn't getting their coaching or development, you can really run into sort of just like banging your head up against a wall. And so I just listen and I look at people and I'm like, people deserve better. We need to do better. We need to do better of treating people better, of helping people more, of realizing that people are juggling so many things. And ultimately, if you want somebody to show up for you, and you want somebody to work hard for you, and you want somebody to do the things that you're asking of them, you need to base level, you need to have a mutual trust and understanding and respect built with that person. And you need to support them. Like, that is, like, to me, that's like basic, and those basic things aren't even being done. And so, yeah, I'm kind of like going on a rant of this, but again, this is all just like stemming from a lot of conversations where I've had where I was like, what are we even doing in these companies? What are we even doing? These are the people that we need to drive the initiatives that you want. You want to grow the business. You want to do X, Y, and Z. Guess what? You can't do it alone. You need the people. And so I guess my challenge for you is, first of all, if you're feeling this way, if you're, maybe within an organization, you're feeling this way, again, like, I was like to, you're not alone. Obviously, I'm sure you've talked to people about that before, but also I challenge you to just go, on the flip side, you're also not stuck. And when I say that, I don't mean like go pick up and leave. I mean, no, we also have to realize that we're only also seeing your perspective. And so if you're not trying to do anything differently, nothing's going to change. And so what's within your circle of control if this is the situation you're in? What maybe, how can you lead differently of the people that you're leading so that that's not also happening with the people you lead? What conversations do you need to have? What new perspective do you need to try on? Why might you be experiencing this? How might you be coming into the relationship or to the situation that's causing this? Have you asked the questions? Have you, come with a business case? Have you had the conversation with your boss around how you're feeling? Like, again, that's on you to sort of reflect, like, what ownership of this do I have? And then also it's like, what do I need to do differently? How else do I need to come into this situation? And then there's like a scale, right? Like, ultimately, if you've tried all the things and you're like no longer willing to stay, well, then it's like, well, now what? What's next for me? But so that would be the one challenge for you, is to just really think about, like, what maybe have I not tried yet that I could consider? And then if you're within an organization with some of that power and you're seeing that, I challenge you to really think about, if we continue this way with our people, what's going to happen? What's going to be the impact? And on the flip side, if we support them, if we get them some coaching, if we get them some training, if we get them some development, if we show that we are intentionally putting time and energy into supporting them, what could the outcome be? And really weigh those out. And of course, if you're somebody who's in that position, like, you can always set up a time to chat and we can talk about what does that support look like. There's lots of different options depending upon what your challenges are and what your investment, what budget you have and all of those things. But just even anything to support people can help that. And then if you are somebody who is, who is more in a startup or a small business entrepreneur who's listening to this, again, I want you to just think about too, how are you treating, whether you have team members, virtual assistants, contractors, but also your clients and your network. Like, how are you showing up for people? How are you treating people? Because again, it's a small world and people remember that. They know how you made them feel. They know how you treated them. They know if you showed honest, authentic, genuine care and concern for them. So I guess ultimately one of the things is like, let's just start with the foundation of treating people with trust and with respect and just humanizing leadership in life. And yeah, I don't know, if you're listening to this, hopefully this message is resonating with you, because I will say that while I tend to try and really see things from, like, sometimes we see things and it just gets you down. You're like, okay, what's the point? Like, I don't have control. I can't control every company and I can't change. Like I always say, changing the culture of a company takes time. And so it can feel overwhelming, like trying to turn that ship. If it's been toxic or if you don't have all of the power within the company, like if you're not the owner of it, it can take time to turn that ship of the culture. But every little thing that you do helps turn it more and more. So if it's just getting some coaching for somebody, if it's just getting a little development for them, starting with some trainings or workshops, like all of that starts to change the culture. And then once it has the momentum, it can get going. And so even though sometimes it can feel like it's a lost cause, I try not to think of that. I try to go more of the positive side and go, this gives me, the more conversations I have like this, where I see what's happening to people in companies, the more conviction I get for how can we help support companies through this and help their people and change that culture around. So hopefully this message landed for you today. And I would love to hear your thoughts. Of course, I'd love to have a conversation with you. And just at the end of the day, remember that the people matter the most. The people that you are relying on to get things done, they are going to be bought in and there for you through the hard times if we treat them with that level of respect and care.